Hello, Get Rock Solid Coaching Training. How are you? I'm Dan Rochon. Today, I'm really privileged to be joined with an icon in the real estate industry, Wendy Papasan. Hello, Wendy.
Hey, Dan. How's it going?
Fantastic. Thanks for joining me today.
My pleasure.
So today we're going to be talking a little bit about leverage, and we're going to learn from Wendy a little bit about what makes her successful, and what some wealth development and maybe even some learning opportunities along the way. So this is a great thing if you're looking on how to have a more productive life, how to be more effective and not work more hours, then this is the webinar for you. So Wendy, welcome.
Thank you. Well, hopefully everyone's looking for that, more money and less hours, Dan.
Yeah, I hope so. So tell me a little bit about yourself, a little bit about your journey.
Sure.
When you started.
I just celebrated my 10 years in real estate and our 1,000th client. And I'm based here in Austin, Texas. We have a team here. We have a hub here. And then we're also in a few other cities. So we're in Dallas, Houston, St. Louis, and Minneapolis. So we've expanded a bit. And I started 10 years ago, part-time. I wanted to save money on investment properties. And here we are, 10 years later. Last year we helped 366 families, which for us is about $2.8 million in revenue. So big growth.
That's a closing a day. More than, 362. Oh, you're three shy of a closing.
366 actually. So yeah, we just made it.
Fantastic. So tell me about your journey. So 362 the last year, and then your first year you were you got involved just to really save on investments. When did you decide to make this a business?
So I would say the gift that I got is, of course, my husband has been working in real estate for a long time. He and Gary have been business partners for, 17 years now. And the advice that he gave me, because a lot of people don't know, he's actually never been a realtor. He's obviously incredible at what he does, a gifted writer. He knows lots and lots about real estate, interviewed probably thousands of agents over the years, but has never been a realtor. But the advice that he gave me right at the beginning was, he said, I don't want you to be one of these crazy realtors who's working nonstop, 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. I want you to really think about leverage. And so that was the gift that I got. So I always sort of thought about the team model from the beginning because when I started, I was a mom of 2 young children. So my kids were 3 and 5 when I started. My son had just started kindergarten, which is what propelled me to get my real estate license. And so those first 2 years, I really worked part-time. So I would drop my son off at kindergarten, then I'd go drop my daughter off at daycare, and then I'd pick her up by midday. So my schedule was really abbreviated. And I ended up, selling 18 houses that first year. And if you're going to do that, you need a little bit of help. So I always tried to, leverage myself even from the beginning.
How did you do that the first year?
The thing I did the first year was I hired one of those contract to close managers, like paid per transaction, which at the time I think our average sales price was about $200,000. So I thought, well, I get to, if I'm making $6,000, I still get to keep $5,650, and somebody else takes care of all the details.
Sure.
Yeah, so I've never really done contract to close. Like, you couldn't. If I had to do it today, I'd be in trouble. Yeah.
I understand completely. So Wendy, when was your first full-time hire?
So my first full-time hire came pretty quickly. I would say really that second year. And what I did was I said to myself, because it's super nerve-wracking thinking about helping, having someone having to depend on you for their livelihood. And so what I did was I saved up enough money to pay for that person part-time for 3 months.
Okay.
So I ended up having them work, I think, between 20 and 30 hours. So I had that money in the bank. And then I thought, if I'm not making that amount of money back after the first 3 months, then I probably just need to let them go anyway.
Yeah. Okay. So that was your first hire. And then fast forward to today, what is you're in multiple cities. Mm-hmm. And I know that I've been to a couple, I've talked to you in the past, and I've heard you on some presentations about, leveraging everything from cleaning the fish tank. So
Right.
tell us a little bit about where you are today and what your life looked like today.
Yeah. Well, so I think as someone who grew up without any leverage, I grew up in a small Minnesota farming town where you like literally do everything your whole life. I can remember my great grandmother was, 98 years old and still shoveling her own sidewalk. That's just kind of like what you do up there.
Yeah.
The idea of leverage was pretty hard. And yet, if you want to grow a business, there's a lot of things that you need to start leveraging. And so I think one of the things that for a lot of people that they forget that they could leverage is their stuff at home. And so I had been a stay-at-home mom for 5 years, and I won't say that I was, greeting Jay with perfect lipstick and a martini when he came home every day, but it was.
What's wrong with you?
It was like pretty buttoned up at home, and so then when all of a sudden the roles started to switch, Jay basically was like, well, I don't want these jobs either. So let's figure out how we can use some of the money that you're making to pay for a housekeeper, a bookkeeper. We did actually hire someone to clean our fish tank for a while because that was Jay's job and he hated it. So,
I actually think about you every single time that I clean my fish tank.
Oh, that's so nice of you.
I'm scrubbing the sides like I got to get somebody to do this for me.
Yeah, sorry, I got to turn this other computer down. Well, yeah, the thing about the fish tank was I had always thought Jay wanted a fish tank for some reason. And then, how you get stuff from clients. And so I had these clients who didn't want their fish tank anymore. And so I just brought it home to Jay as like a surprise. And then it like turned into this burden because A, turns out he didn't want the fish tank. And then B, he had to clean it all the time. So then when we moved, we just ended up getting rid of it. So.
All right. I think that's probably better advice than getting somebody to clean the fish tank is maybe just get rid of the fish tank.
Probably. Yeah, probably.
What would you say, tell us a little bit about, along your journey, you've built this incredibly successful business, one to be admired and one to be emulated. If I was an agent in my second year of business right now, if I was a brand new agent right now,
mm-hmm.
you were to give me one piece of advice, and I'm going to ask you 2 years, 5 years, or maybe not by years, but really by like level of where they've developed, what would you tell me if I'm a brand new agent today?
I would tell you to really to invest back in your business. What I see a lot of new agents doing is they spend all the money that they make. And so really think about how you can invest into your business. And that means people and that means systems. And if you want to look up in 5 years and have truly have a business, or look up in 10 years and have a business where you can literally step out of it and have an asset that provides you practically passive income, those are really the things that you have to do. And so I would say, live on 50% of what you're making and put some money aside for purchasing properties, and then put some money aside for investing back in the business.
Okay, so purchasing properties and investing back into the business. I want to hear a little bit more about that. But first, tell me, like, say you're at that, after your first year, you had helped 18 clients to buy a home or sell a home or invest in real estate. If I was at 18 or 30, somewhere in that range,
mm-hmm.
what advice would you give me at that point?
Well, so what I would do is, if you're starting to feel overwhelmed, or even if you're not starting to feel overwhelmed, I would just tape a piece of paper to my desk, Dan, if I had to do it all over again, and I would write on the top of it my not to do list.
Mm.
And every time you're doing that thing in real estate where you're like, I don't want to do it, or you're putting it off, right? You have to do it, but you don't really want to do it. I would write that down on your list and keep writing things down until you got a full page. And then all of a sudden you've got your job description for your first hire.
The not to do, and that's what I'm going to leverage off first. That is brilliant. Mm-hmm. What about if I'm, a little bit more developed, 36 plus in the 50, 60 range? What would you suggest there?
Probably the same thing, because I have literally fired myself from every single position on the team now and hired somebody better in my place.
Got it.
Yeah, I fired myself from everything.
What's your day-to-day look like today?
Well, to be really honest with you, I'm back in it a little bit. We had a really tough spring. I had a lot of people leave and some shakeups on my real estate team, which honestly is, it's not a first, but a first in this dramatic of a fashion. So I had several people who had been with me 7 years, 6 years, 5 years, just, it was kind of time to part ways. And so my day-to-day is quite busy because I'm in the middle of hiring 2 people now.
Okay.
Hopefully, I put some offers out yesterday, so fingers crossed. Because that is really the hard thing about it is real estate, is that when you are hiring great people, you not only have to do the job that you're doing, you really have to do 2 jobs at once, which is the hiring. And as you know, Keller Williams has an excruciatingly long hiring process that just for people who are like a lot of speed and are kind of demanding, it can be excruciating. So I'm managing that right now, but there's light at the end of the tunnel. So
I completely understand.
Yeah. But 6 months ago it was great. I was only spending about 1 or 2 days a week on the real estate team. I had a couple new businesses I'm starting.
Okay. What would you have done anything differently to maybe protect yourself from where you are today, or taking that step back? And I know that you'll be out of this within a very short period of time. Would you have done anything differently?
I mean, no, not really. The thing about failure is that in hindsight, it always makes sense. And so I'm 47 now, so I have enough wisdom in this world to really understand that everything happens for a reason. And, sometimes to make a rose bush grow, you got to prune it a little bit. And so that's my mindset around it. But it's devastating when you're in it. It's really hard. You're like laying on the ground, like, why me? Why me? Why me? And it's rejection. It's hard when you're a leader and you pour into people for years and then they part ways with you. But at the end of the day, it's like everybody's got to live their best life. It's nothing personal. It's not like people are leaving because they don't like me. It's just they're moving in a different direction. So
yeah. So you mentioned when we were talking about your advice for the new agent about investing back into yourself, investing into property. Tell me a little bit more about that, because I know that you've done I want to hear a little more about your investing journey.
Yeah. So our investment journey started when we were about to move out of our first home. I was pregnant with my son, and somebody over at Keller Williams International said to Jay, like, hey, you should keep that house as an investment property. And we were both like, wait, what? Tell me more about that. Like, I thought everybody just sold their house and then put all their money into their next property, which is typically what we see our clients do. And so we decided to keep that as an investment property, and it's been great for us. It's been there for 16 years. We cost us about $7,000 to buy it. We've had complete strangers paying down the debt now for over 13 years, and we've seen it appreciate so that we've got at least $400,000 in equity. So that's been a great one for us. And that's just where we started. And then from there, when Jay was writing The Millionaire Real Estate Investor, we decided we were going to do a flip property. So we did a, wildly unsuccessful is how I would call it, flip property, where we just made we didn't know, we made a lot of bad choices and the plumbing broke. And so I think we ended up making like a couple $100 either, each partner ended up making a couple $100, like, not including all the sweat equity we put into it. So, but it was a very valuable learning experience.
Everything's a learning opportunity.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. So yeah, we've just, been lucky in some instances and had other properties where it didn't work out and we were saddled with debt, and it's just part of it. It's not everything is going to work out, but you just have to keep going.
So where do you see your business 5 years from today?
Well, so really continuing to focus on growing our expansion teams in Texas. We're not number one in Austin yet, and we'd like to continue to grow here. We want to continue to grow our team in Houston, grow our team in Dallas, start a team in San Antonio, And the nice thing about Texas is, there's 28 million people here. So there's a ton of opportunity. And I'd rather go deep than just have a lot of, notches in my belt all across the country, I guess.
Got it. So you anticipate to be geographically centered in the Texas area and to be focused there. Is that right?
Yeah, that's correct.
Okay, cool. And what do you need to do from here to there to make that happen?
Well, I think we've got some great partners in place. We have a small team in Houston now. We've got 3 rock stars there, and we've got a partner in Dallas. So it's just continuing, and the one in Dallas is fairly new, just a few months old. So just continuing to grow and really, perfecting our lead gen model, because at the end of the day, that's really everything. And that's the hardest thing to figure out. It's like figuring out how to get the leads going in other places, and then who knows from there. Start another business this year that's a subscription home maintenance and handyman service in Austin, and that's been fun growing that from the ground up. So possibly that'll be in some other cities too.
So your subscription home maintenance company, tell us a little bit about that.
Yeah. So we had this idea to, I always thought it was sort of weird when you do you help somebody buy or sell their home, or really buy their home. And maybe you know them pretty well, or maybe you don't know them pretty well. And you want to stay in touch with them, but it always felt sort of weird just to call and be like, hey, how was your trip to Disney World? Because like most of the time I don't really care. And so I thought,
how do you really feel?
I hope, hopefully none of my clients are watching, right? But like, I want to be engaged with them in something that's relevant to them too, right? Everyone's so busy. So why don't I call and have a conversation with them about their home? And so our subscription home maintenance is, we have a inspector that goes out twice a year and does seasonal home maintenance. So, flushes the radiators, changes your AC filters, cleans out your gutters, all those things that us as busy professionals know we're supposed to be doing, but we just don't really have the time or inclination to do. And then they have access to our vendor network, and then there's a low copay for any handyman service that they need. So it kind of takes the hassle out of home ownership. And then at the same time, we're collecting all that information about their home. So we know when they purchase their home that the AC is 10 years old, or the roof is 15 years old. And so just making timely calls, asking the question, hey, I know your air conditioner is about 15 years old. Interested in having one of our vendors come out and check it out for you. Or knowing that, hey, I know your air conditioner is 15 years old, you got an aging roof, you've got all these things that you're about to have to pay for. Maybe you want to sell right now and move into your move-up home. That's
a brilliant. I love that.
Thanks. I stole it from someone else.
Well, that's you brilliantly stole that. So so tell me a little bit about how do you define success?
Great question. So success for me is really the ability to have enough passive income to fund your mission in life, to fund your passion. Like, to me, that's how I'll be successful, is that I can do what I love to do and I have assets that are working for me.
Okay. And what brings you joy?
Well, my big why, or my mission, is really to empower and inspire big thinking leaders to create lives of abundance. So that's kind of what gets me up every day. And that's a big leap from my original why for real estate, which was to save money on investment properties.
Okay.
And I just love the leadership piece. I love helping people live their best lives. I mean, that's why you and I are talking today. It makes perfect sense for me to come and inspire people to build their wealth, build their real estate businesses, and create a life by design.
I love that. Create a life by design. What do you fear, Wendy? What scares you?
Well, I'm a mom, so I worry about my kids, I guess. But Jay's a really good worrier, so I've kind of like leveraged that out to him. But this sounds terrible, but I don't, like, being brave is one of my superpowers. So I just don't have, and hopefully that's not a cop-out answer, but I just don't have I just don't not afraid of a lot.
That's fair enough. So if you were to come up with one word that would describe where you are today, what would that word be?
One word to describe where I am today. That's a tough one. I mean, I would say that the word for me is always gratitude, because I always try to be grateful where I'm at. I didn't grow up with a lot of money, and so I'm just grateful for the amazing people I have around me. I'm grateful to be a part of Keller Williams. I love coming to work today. I love my team. And when bad things happen, as they always do, you can either focus on the bad things that are happening, which is mainly things you can't control, or you can focus on all the good you've got in your life. And I mean, I'm blessed a million times over. And if I die tomorrow, I will be happy and I have no regrets. So
that's fantastic. So I know that you, besides the obvious books, because there are, besides the Millionaire Real Estate Agent et al., The One Thing, etc. Besides those wonderful books that have really just transformed my life and many, many others.
Yeah.
What would you make a recommendation for somebody to read to be able to develop themselves?
Well, you did send me that question, and those are the books that I wrote down. So that's there. Well, let's see. So, I mean, Rich Dad Poor Dad. I know that one's super easy, but that's a mindset book about money, which was very powerful for me. This isn't a book, but I really enjoy the Bigger Pockets podcast. Also about money. So just really changing your mindset about money. I really enjoyed recently. It's a Bigger Podcast book. It's called Step for Life. It's by Scott Trench, I think. And it's a really nice primer for wealth building. So if anybody's out there listening and they're looking for like a really easy to read primer about starting your wealth building journey, I would highly recommend that, honestly, even more than like Millionaire Real Estate Investor, which my husband wrote, which is a lot more complicated and technical. So that's a good one.
We'll still recommend that for the second one, just to keep peace in the family. So what are your goals right now?
Well, my goals right now are to really grow this kind of the side hustle that I'm doing. And then I also have a passion project that I'd love to share.
Sure, please.
So about 4 years ago, I joined an organization called EO, which is Entrepreneurs Organization. And Austin has the largest chapter in the whole world. There was at the time 144 people. And it's for entrepreneurs who make more than $1 million in revenue every year. So I thought, this is going to be my tribe. And I went in, I joined. It's like really expensive to join. And it turned out just to really not be the place for me. There was only about 14 women out of the 144. And so I basically ended up quitting, which is not like me. And this was not the vibe I wanted. So long story short, I ended up seeking out a tribe of my own, and I created this group that I call the Five Dolls, and it's women who make more than $1 million in real estate, and they have big businesses all over the country. And we've been masterminding, meeting in different locations around the world about every 6 months, and there's 11 of us. And we just every time we meet, we say, we should just like open this up and bring this to more people. And so we are having our first Amplify event in Jupiter, Florida in September. And that'll be really exciting. We've got hopefully about 200 women who own really big businesses from every industry. And just a little plug, if anybody's listening, you can find it on amplifyevent.com. But I'm super excited about that.
And what's the qualification to be invited to that event?
A woman business owner.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
And just a couple more questions. What do you do today to sort of keep yourself motivated, keep yourself growing? What do you do to be able to develop yourself personally?
Yeah. Well, I think I shared that these past 6 months have been very hard for me professionally. And then also we just had a lot of things happen at home. You know, my husband had surgery and we moved, and, you know, he got a promotion at KWRI, which was great, but it was just a lot of stuff at once. So there's just been a lot of times where I'm like, why am I doing this? This is so hard. And so the things I do to motivate myself are, first of all, I exercise, right? For me, that's huge. If I don't exercise, I lose a lot of my motivation. And so we get up and we have a trainer that comes to our house 3 days a week at 5:30 in the morning. And we work out, and then, you know, just the regular stuff, listen to podcasts. I mean, I have this one particular dumb motivational video that I have listened to that I, you know, for years, probably like 6 years.
What is the dumb motivational video?
I don't know the name of it. If you Google like dream video, I think it's like the dream motivational video. It's just like there's a million of them, but for whatever reason, this one resonates with me. I just turn it up on my way to work, and then really it's just like getting up and coming to work. You know, just getting up and doing the things. Sometimes that's enough to get me going. So.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Well, Wendy, you've been a blessing. If I'm a real estate agent, I got a referral for the Texas area. How do I get in touch with you?
Yeah. So I spend way too much time on Facebook, so you can send it through Facebook. I'm also on Instagram, both at Wendy Papasan. Pretty easy to track me down. Otherwise, you can go to our website, which is papasanproperties.com. I'm Googleable. Stop by my office. You know, we'll have a cup of coffee, whatever.
Fantastic.
All the things, yeah.
Wendy, thank you so much, and I wish you much continued success, and let me know if I can ever help you.
Of course. Thanks, Dan, for having me. I appreciate it.
My pleasure.